Hey, speaker, this is Walter Bryan. Listen, I want to give you 10 powerful tips to do once your keynote is over. The biggest mistake you can make is get excited, get booked, deliver a great keynote, and think you're done. No. As soon as you get off that platform, you got work to do, okay? Here's the 10 things you must do as soon as your keynote is over. Whether you killed it or not, it doesn't matter. Do these 2 things, and it will help grow your business, even if you're mediocre on stage, okay? Some days you're gonna kill it. Some days you're gonna have rough days. Some days you might be lousy. It's a part of the development. But if you do these 10 things, trust me, they'll still help you move your business forward. Here's the first thing you gotta do. As soon as you get off the stage, get into what I call a prime retail location. Get to your ballroom and figure out where is that prime retail location. It might be in the back, it might be to the side, it might be to the left, it might be to the right. You guys know business. What's prime retail position? It's where the traffic flows. It's where the people flow. Don't decide that on your own. Get to that ballroom early and figure out when they leave the ballroom, what door are they using? After your presentation, where is the audience going next? Wherever that is, whatever position that is prime retail location. My wife and I, we do a lot of business and franchising. Some of the franchisees we work with, they'll take a year or 2 before they decide a location. Why? Because they want to choose a prime retail location. Sometimes the location you choose is 80% of the deal. So as a speaker, when you look at your ballroom, as soon as you come off the platform, retreat to a primary retail location that's really going to be in the center of the most traffic. Why? Because you have about 30 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes, sometimes an hour to take full advantage of that audience. And as soon as you're done, retreat to the primary retail location. The second thing that you do is say thanks to that meeting planner. I can make the argument. I don't care if you spoke to 500. I don't care if you spoke to 1,000. Who's your customer? Your customer is a person who pays. So in many cases, it's not the audience who paid. It's that meeting planner. As soon as you're done, don't you leave that ballroom. Don't you leave that hotel without saying thank you. Think about it. That meeting planner had hundreds, if not thousands of choices. As soon as you're done, make sure you make your way to that meeting planner and say thank you. I don't care where they are. I don't care how busy they are. Physically, go find them and say thanks. The truth is, they appreciate it. I did an event years ago, and the meeting planner was so busy. So in my mind, let me leave her alone because she's busy. Oh my God. I went right home after I did a breakout. I didn't even do a keynote. And she told me, I would never use you again. I'm like, what are you talking about? You didn't even say thank you. How dare you? I was like, you busy. I was trying to be respectful. I just thought she was so busy. She didn't care. But it taught me a valuable lesson to always shake that hand, look them in the eye, and say thank you. I don't care if they paid you $1,000. I don't care if they paid you $100,000. Don't you leave that hotel without showing that appreciation. Here's a 4th tip. When you get to your primary retail location, you're shaking hands, you're kissing babies. I need you to listen for the next opportunity. Because somebody in that audience is going to say, oh, you'll be perfect for my group. I wish my husband was here. You'll be perfect for his company. So when you're done with that platform experience and you're shaking hands and saying thank you and engaging with your audience as they leave the ballroom or transition to the next event, Listen for future opportunities. The more you speak, the more you speak. If you join our coaching program, my people know we got a bunch of slogans. We have a bunch of sayings, and all of our people are making money because they don't just hear what we preach and teach. They understand what we preach and teach. The more you speak, the more you speak. Every time you speak, that should lead to your next 3 gigs. I'm gonna say it again. Every time you speak, that should lead to at least your next 3 events. So when you get to your retail position, make sure you're listening for your next opportunities. Because if you're not listening for your next opportunities, you may have a great day. You may deliver a great keynote, but that event didn't lead to the next thing. If you're gonna have a career in this business, you thrive on spinoffs and referrals. So retreat to your retail position and listen for your next 3 to 5 opportunities, because that's how you build a business as a professional speaker. Here's another key. You kill the platform. People love you. As you're shaking hands, signing books, whatever you do at your retail position, retail location, we're going to talk about that in a moment, but you're listening for testimonials. When you get 3 people, 5 people, 10 people, emphatic about their testimonials, sometimes you got to take a time out and say, you know what? Can I capture that on camera? Here's why. Social proof. It's one thing for you to brag about how good you are. Whole nother ballgame for someone else to brag about how good you are. I've been in ballrooms with thousands of people. I can be in line with hundreds of people buying my book, and I'm signing a book. And someone will come up to me and be so emphatic with their testimonial, I will stop and say, time out. Can I catch that on camera? I will hold the line. I used to grab my phone and say, can you say exactly what you just said to this camera? And of course they say, oh my God, yeah. So one day I spoke to the Nebraska Bankers Association. The executive director said to me, Walter, you're the best speaker I ever had. In 30 years, you were the best speaker I ever had. I stopped my line. Another $20 book didn't matter to me at that moment. I was like, can I get that on camera? He says, absolutely. I held the line, took him to the side, and recorded that video. He said the same exact thing, and I sent it to every executive director in the country. Within 2 weeks, we booked 7 different states, okay? At that moment, we were $5,500. That one video made us $55,000 in the next 2 weeks. So when you get off the platform, when you hear that testimony, that's extra, capture it on camera, because social proof is very, very dynamic and very, very popular. Testimonials is how the whole world works, especially the business world. Think about Yelp. Think about what you use to go pick restaurants. It's all about social proof, okay? Now, before you leave the ballroom, we haven't left the ballroom yet. We're still in the ballroom. Go to the AV team and say thank you. Here's why. They made your audio right. They had your PowerPoint right. They were at the sound check. Make sure you say thank you to the AV team, because if you're going to have a 20-year career, you're going to see them again. And let me be clear, that AV team has way more power than you think. I've had AV teams refer me. I've had AV teams come up to me. I don't remember them, because I do about 100 events a year. They say, well, Walter, we work with you here and we work with you there. I say, you know what? Thank you. I really appreciate you. It's hard to remember everybody because this business moves so fast. But let me tell you something. In that moment, I'm very thankful. In that moment, I'm very appreciative, because that keynote, they had the lighting right. They had the audio right. They got my video right. They got my PowerPoint right. And I go right back to the back of that ballroom. And I always let them know, we did the sound check and thank you. This program was perfect. I appreciate you helping us deliver an amazing event. It's genuine. And I don't do it just because they might refer me. Success is a team sport. When I'm on that platform, I realize my job is to present, but there's other people making sure that event is special. And I always make sure I thank that AV team before I leave that ball. If they record it, we make sure we get a business card. They say, man, we would love to get the raw footage. Raw footage is like gold. Raw footage can be repurposed into promo video, into YouTube content. Sometimes raw footage is good just for some game film. If you want to get better, there's nothing better than some raw footage. So saying thank you for that AV team sometimes can echo into your future, but sometimes it's just simply the right thing to do. And after a couple decades in this business, the same AV team has used me again and again and again. And obviously they remember me a lot more than I remember them, which honestly, I really appreciate a very, very good AV team. Here's some other tips. When you check into the hotel, go and look at the schedule. Who else is in the hotel? Now, there's not a hotel in America that has meeting space that doesn't have other events. We booked other events simply because they were in the hotel. And we might go by their ballroom and say, hey, look, man, right next door, I'm doing a keynote at 10:30. Poke your head in. And seriously, it could be a totally different organization. The fact that we're alert, look at the schedule and say, oh my God, the Merchandise is here. Oh my goodness, the Vertus is here. This pharmaceutical company is here. Just poke your head into the ballroom and just see what I'm doing. And you better believe through the years, we booked tons of business just because there was another event who happened to be in the same hotel at the same time. And we invited them into the ballroom and they poked their head in, heard me give portions of a keynote, saw the audience react. And before we know it, we got on the short list because we invited them to the ballroom. So every time you speak, the day before, the morning of, who else is in the hotel? You better believe they do meetings. You better believe they use speakers. And sometimes inviting them into your ballroom is all it takes for you to get into position for the next meeting. Here's another tip. Speakers are great resources. Why build a lineup and not connect the other speakers? A lot of conferences have green rooms. Go into the green room. Go into the green room early. Support other speakers. Listen to other speakers. Connect with other speakers. Listen to other speakers. Early on in our career, going to meet the other speakers were huge. Why? Because it's almost like the industry feeds off of speakers, and speakers are typically really nice people, very helpful people, and they love to help people, especially each other. So if you're on a docket and there's 5 other speakers, why not meet the 5 speakers while you're in town? Sometimes you can organize a dinner the night before, a quick meetup the day of, but networking with other speakers is huge. Here's 2 more tips. Are you ready? Previews. If you know you're speaking, why not invite people who are interested to come and hear you live? So for example, you have a client in Des Moines, Iowa. They're interested, they haven't booked you yet. You book a gig in Des Moines, Iowa. Call them and say, hey, you know what? You guys have been interested in speaking in Des Moines, Iowa. Come by the ballroom and come hear me present. I'll check with the client and make sure it's okay. For a long time, we booked previews and we closed about 90% of the previews. Previews are a game changer. Sometimes we would have multiple previews in the same ballroom. So inviting people to hear you live who are interested sometimes is the nudge that you need to get them over the hump. Here's a 10th key. Are you ready? Stay on until you get home. I'm gonna say it again. Stay on until you get home. Do you guys know when you present, you might be in front of a ballroom, and when you leave the conference, people see you in the airport, and they might not say a word. They see you walk by and say, oh, that was our speaker today. They see you get on the plane. That was our speaker today. Don't say a word to you. They're just watching. observing, not saying a word. They will watch you and they like, oh my God, our speaker landed in the same city. You could be grabbing your luggage. Stay on until you get home. Stay on until you get home. I have had this experience where I've done a keynote, and let me tell you something. People watch me, won't say a word, and before you know it, I'm at the luggage claim all the way back home. They say, Walter Barton, you are a keynote speaker? And I'm like, yeah. Oh my God, you're amazing. You're fabulous. And I'm like, shoot. Stay on until you get home. Now, hopefully you're not a hypocrite. Hopefully you're exactly what you are communicating on stage. And a good thing for me, whether you see me on stage or off stage, it don't matter because I'm Walter Barton. I'm not that fake and phony guy. In fact, the biggest compliment I get is, Walter Barton, you're real. I don't think that should be a compliment. It is a compliment, but what you see is what you get. But if you're not there yet in your development, okay? And sometimes you get annoyed. Sometimes you get pissed off. Sometimes you snap on people. Trust me, stay on until you get home, because people might not say a word to you. They might acknowledge you, but people are watching until you get home. Thank you, and see you soon.